Here on the sky, so welcome back. And well, 1.18 is out, and the terrain is amazing. It is absolutely beautiful. It is stunning. I've run out of adjectives to describe it. But the problem is, ore distribution has changed, which means getting those resources to get yourself started have just become a whole lot harder. So in this video, we're going to be looking at what are the changes and what can be the new mining strategies that you can use to try and get yourself some sweet resources. Now, I must mention, this is not a guide on how to get diamonds. Diamonds are most probably found at y equals to minus 59. Go ahead and check out Zoomovoid's video because he's done a much better explanation on how to find particularly diamonds. This is going to be focused on other resources such as iron, lapis, copper, and gold, and so on. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we've got to look at is what has changed. This is the image that was circulated by Mojang themselves, and this is an accurate representation of the distribution of the ores in the new Minecraft world. So just to get started, we're going to be looking at the parts of the world underground, like so. So as you can see, we've got the copper on the left, which is a more chrome yellow color, which maxes out at y equals to 48. The iron triangle maxes out at y is equal to 16. Redstone is all the way at the bottom of the world. Diamond, which is the light blue as well. Lapis maxes out at about y0, but there's no air exposure, so you do have to mine over there. We've also got gold towards the far right in yellow, which also maxes out at about y equals to minus 16. We've also got copper veins and iron veins, which we will be talking about later on. But coal maxes out really high up, and you've also got a small section of gold which actually generates in just mesa biomes. So the question is, will the old mining techniques actually work? The obvious answer is no, because you can't really mine at any level except for y0 and get a decent number of all resources. So in case you do want to strip mine going in horizontal lines, you are going to actually have to construct multiple strip mines, as is shown in this image, where as you can see, we've got one, the orange strip mine, which is about y48, for getting yourself a decent amount of copper, a tiny bit of coal, and maybe even a little bit of iron. You've got another line at about y16, mainly for iron. You've got one at y equals to 0, which should give you a relatively small spread of all the resources. And finally, the one all the way at the bottom of the world at y59 for your redstone and for your diamonds. Now, alternatively, instead of having to do multiple branch mines, what you could do is you can actually go in a diagonal. Now, the diagonal does have the advantage that it actually just goes through all the major sections. In case you're mining from y equals to 64 all the way to y equals to minus 64, and you're making a 4-high tunnel going all the way down, you're basically mining out the equivalent of, say, 2 iron picks. So you can just carry 2 iron picks with you, go all the way from the top of the world to the bottom of the world, and basically run through a decent amount of resources along the way. Now, as I said, this is in case you're not specifically mining for diamonds or for a particular type of ore. This is akin to the mining that we used to do at Y12 in the previous versions, where we get a decent mix of all the resources. The other advantage with mining diagonally is that you get to hit ore veins. Now, ore veins, as is shown in this figure, generate really weirdly, but there is a decently higher chance of running through an ore vein if you're actually mining diagonally. Ore veins are really visible in noodle caves, which go straight down and in a weird shape. It's really easy to run into ore veins in such a scenario rather than actually mining horizontally. Now, how does it come down to identifying ore veins? Well, here's an image that I found in the deep slate area. Obviously, in the deep slate area, we have iron ore veins, and in the stone area, we have copper ore veins. Copper ore veins generate with granite mixed with copper ore, and iron ore veins generate with tuff mixed with the iron ore. As you can see over here, we've got a few iron ore blocks scattered around amongst the tuff, but more importantly, we've got a raw iron block. So the second that you find a raw iron block in your world, you've definitely found an ore vein. But in case you're not too certain and there is no raw iron block, if you find multiple pieces of iron decently spread out, you've definitely come across an ore vein, and it definitely pays to mine the whole thing out, because there's an estimated about 2,000 or maybe 1,000 ingots that you can get from a single vein. So make sure that you mine out the entirety of it. A copper ore vein would basically look the same, but with granite and copper instead of iron and tuff. The next part we're going to be looking at is, well, not to do with mining, it's more to do with your exploration and how you can find things really, really early game. So as you can see, there's a huge white triangle towards the top, which maxes out at Y255. You've also got the copper triangle, which maxes out at about Y96. And there's also a larger triangle at about Y120 or something. So what this means is that in higher terrain, you actually have a much higher chance of finding iron and copper. Now, I decided to test this out, and I teleported myself to the first Stony Peak biome I could find, and instantly, as you can see in this photo, I actually found a decent amount of iron exposed along with some coal. Basically, within a couple of minutes of each other, I found enough iron to probably make an entire set of iron gear, and also the coal to smelt it up. So it really does pay to go towards higher biomes, such as the Stony Peaks or the Snowy Peaks, or even going to a savanna where there's a tiny chance of getting a savanna hills. And then you just want to look for the exposed areas where the stone is actually visible. Now, in case you want to, well, not go looking for surface stuff, and say you want to go caving in the darker areas, the best place to look for resources would be in a lush cave biome. Lush cave biomes have glowberries, which does actually spread some light, which does reduce spawns, because the latest update, mobs can only spawn at absolute zero. So looking for a lush cave, all you've got to do is find an azalea tree above ground, dig straight down, and you will find a lush cave. This is really, really useful. Also, glowberries are a decent source of food, and you can also get moss, which will help with dealing with deep slate in case your mining is too slow. So definitely keep an eye out for lush caves, because these do make the experience slightly easier. Another place that you might want to hit in case for an easier mining experience would be the underwater caves. Now, these are surprisingly useful, because maneuverability is not a problem here. You don't need to be constructing bridges or figuring out how to go up and down. You can just swim through it. The only problem is air, so you do want to carry a door with yourself so that you can create air pockets every so often. The other advantage is mobs. The only mobs that can spawn in an underwater caves biome, which can actually hurt you, are drowns. And drowns are really, really slow unless they have a trident. And yeah, so it does make the experience a whole lot easier. Just make sure you carry a door with you. Now, in case you want to deal with one of these guys, these incredible but deadly caves, what you can do is you can actually just set your spawn in a secure location, grab a bunch of torches, don't go in with any armor, and just try and get as many torches as you can. The advantage this time around is that you don't need to place torches as frequently, because once again, light level has to be completely zero for mob spawning to start. So just try and cover as large an area as possible with your torches. These are basically suicide missions, but it is definitely worth it. It gives you a lot more time and a lot more maneuverability, if you will, to try and search through these really epic caves. So yeah, so yes guys, thanks for watching. This means guys, and I'm out, so ciao for now. I shall see you in the next video.